Welcome to Arakko Public Radio for the week of December 14th, my birthday. We are the Casual X-Men Chat Show, where we chat everything happening in Marvel's Mutants every single week. I'm Rod, and this is the Clark Kent to my Jimmy Olsen, my one and only Omega Mutant, Keegan. Keegan, have I used that one before? That one feels familiar now that I say it aloud.
You know, I don't think so.
Okay, good.
I'm not sure.
How are you doing this week?
Yeah. Good. Just getting ready for the winter break of it all, and being ready to actually have time.
You want to know what I'm a little scared of?
Mm.
My 3-year-old son's Christmas break started today. My wife's doesn't start until next week. So I get a whole week of solo Christmas duty with a 3-year-old.
That is a dangerous task, and I have the utmost faith in your ability to pull it off.
Let's just see. I might be a little Hagrid by next episode. But we're not going to worry about next episode. We're talking this week about Legion of X number 8, Deadpool number 2, and then climbing into the dark web with Dark Web X-Men number 1 and Amazing Spider-Man number 15 a little bit. Really didn't have much to do with the X-Men. But first, we skipped to the last few weeks. You ready to play a game?
I'm ready to lose a game. Let's go.
All right. So after we had some technical difficulties last week, this is going to be our first week on Crossover Comics. It was going to be last week. So in honor of joining them, we're going to play another game of Name the Crossover. You remember this game?
I do remember it.
I tweaked it a little, though. So this time, it's all crossovers between the X-Men and another property. So every question, you can get up to 2 points. So first, I'm just going to give you the date range. If you can guess it there, you get 2 points. If you need me to, I will then tell you who they crossed over with. If you get it after that, it's worth 1 point. There's 5 total questions worth up to 10 points. 5 points gets you a win.
Okay.
You ready?
I think so.
All right. And there's a wide range of difficulty levels here. I don't think I even have them organized where they ramp up. So June 2011.
June 2011. Avengers versus X-Men.
No. The entire event was in that 1 month of June.
I apologize. I have no idea.
All right. I will now give you the properties they crossed over with. Steve Rogers, Super Soldier, and Namor. I forgot both of those books existed.
I have too. So I definitely have no idea.
Escape from the Negative Zone.
I don't think I'm familiar with that one at all.
So it was one of those ones where it's just was the annuals from each series all crossed over.
Oh, okay.
But I was actually a fun little event. I read the wiki of it, and it reminded me of the event. And so Steve Rogers' Super Soldier was that era where it was after Steve Rogers came back to life in Brubaker's run, but before he took back the shield, so he was just the Super Soldier. It was
interesting.
Yeah. All right. So we're at 0 points.
0 points.
I think you can get at least a point from this one. November 2016 to March of 2017.
Okay, I'm going to need
the second half?
Yeah.
This is where I'm almost positive you will get it. The Inhumans.
The Inhumans? Wait, what? Oh my god, what was it called?
You got a 50-50 shot here.
Wait, what? What am I supposed to be guessing again? I have forgotten.
The name of the crossover.
Okay. I don't know. What is it called? I don't know. I don't remember.
Inhumans versus X-Men.
Oh, okay.
That's why I said 50-50, because
that's
you can either get the order right or the order wrong.
That makes sense.
You're all right. Now, this one is probably the hardest, but it's actually my favorite one on the list. November to December of 1993.
You're just going to have to straight up give me who those with.
The Avengers.
Okay. And that seems like a short one with the Avengers?
From the early 90s. So it was long before Avengers versus X-Men.
Yeah. No clue.
It was called Blood Ties.
Blood Ties. Okay.
If we ever do another like 5th week dive back into the 90s, we might read it. It was a lot of fun.
Okay, cool.
All right. So, well, at this point, you can't get enough points to win.
Cannot win. However, I refuse to give up.
February to April of 2015.
February to April 2015. I feel like, is that like Civil War 2?
No. But you're in the right realm, if that makes sense. So this is when they crossed over with the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay. I wouldn't know the name of it then. I don't think.
Black Vortex.
Black Vortex. Okay.
That was
I was
that one was not very good. You don't ever need to go back to read that one.
No, it honestly doesn't sound like it would be. I was like, man, I wonder.
Do you want a chance to redeem yourself now?
Sure.
November of 2022 to February of 2023.
Is that possibly Dark Web?
That is Dark Web. 2 points. There you go. You're on the board.
Halfway to victory.
Good thing you're an English teacher, not a math teacher.
Listen, I round up.
Fair enough. So yeah, that was in honor of us joining Crossover. Their logo is on screen right now. If you haven't checked them out, go check them out. They've got 2 other podcasts going right now. Both are really cool people. I'll talk about them at the end of the show. But also, they've got a Discord server that I'll link. They're all on TikTok, throwing up really cool, insightful stuff. Great group of guys. Just go join. Great group of people. You should go check them out.
Absolutely. I'm excited to be a part of it.
Legion of X number 8, written by Spurrier, drawn by Netho Diaz. Opens on the cliffhanger from last issue, with Nightcrawler, Dr. Nemesis, and Pixie arriving at X-Corps, only to find Archangel in his new beastie form, locked in battle with the new-ish Black Knight. Chamber and Husk are adorably out of their element as the original Legionnaires assigned, but they all try to subdue the feral Warren. Nightcrawler struggles with going feral as well, at one point growling about drinking Angel's blood, but he manages to regain control. Archangel escapes after a data page that recaps who the new Black Knight is and that Jean Grey discovered that she was a mutant but that she doesn't know it. The story shifts to Juggernaut, Lost, and Forget-Me-Not looking to get into Nightcrawler's home. Lost doesn't wear one of the devices that allow people to remember Forget-Me-Not, so the issue has a few pretty funny moments where Lost asks who the hell he is at really inopportune moments. They can't find the entrance, but Vox Ignis shows up, revealing himself publicly for the first time. The Krakoan gates move as if they're dodging the Legionnaires as they attempt to use them. Cypher reveals that it's Warlock moving them and that their soul bond has been broken, and we get what is possibly the saddest image of Warlock ever, just in the fetal position, hiding in some dark, dank hole. Then there's a cool data page revealing that the spirit that bonded with Banshee to make Vox Ignis became the spirit of variance by rejecting vengeance and has been shunned by its fellow spirits of vengeance. Back at X-Corp, the Black Knight reveals she has the power to make others temporarily develop mutant powers and register as mutants, and that Angel was interested since Orcus has begun randomly testing people for the X gene. Pixie theorizes that this is all a case of mythomancy, a rare type of magic where people's preconceived notions or prejudices are made real, i.e. everyone thinks mutants are just these horrible beasts, and so now they are. Blindfold visits Professor X in his dream and confronts him over his distance from Legion. Professor X tries to claim he never knew about Legion, but Blindfold is incredulous the world's strongest psychic wouldn't have detected his own son at least some level. Xavier says he doesn't know how to help him, but Blindfold blithely and ruthlessly tells him he doesn't need help, he just needs his love. Xavier wakes and activates a contingency plan that he just names as Daedalus. As an English teacher, I should be able to pronounce it. Black Knight, Pixie, Nemesis, and Nightcrawler arrive in Bavaria, where the magic was first detected. As Pixie tries to reassure Nightcrawler he isn't a monster, local children flee, thinking he's Krampus. Nightcrawler reveals he recognizes the area as somewhere he and his siblings would hide from Margali, his adoptive mother, that sorceress, and in a dramatic final page reveal, she's there. I love this book. I know
so
we have multiple people in our circle of friends that think it's really, I just love this book. I don't know how anyone could not love this book.
it's so much fun. Like, there's so much good stuff in it every single month.
This was definitely the
every
best issue
month
of this
that it
one
comes
too.
out.
Yeah, every month that they actually release. It's catching up. It's only like an issue and a half behind now instead of being
There
like
we
3
go.
issues behind.
But yeah, absolutely, best one yet by far.
I should have had more faith in Spurrier from the beginning because he is a slow build guy, and we're finally getting the payoff of the slow builds here. This has been fantastic.
Agreed completely.
Kind of, there's three major plots going on. Do you want to talk Xavier first? Do you want to talk Nightcrawler's side first, or do you want to talk like the Vox Ignis lost of it all?
We can go any direction. I'm always down for some good old fashioned Chuck slander, though.
Let's open with Chuck, because they spent the least time there, but I feel like that was the stuff that hit the hardest.
Absolutely.
How good of a burn was that? Being told, like, he's like, I don't know how to help him. I just can't figure out how to help him, and just he doesn't need help. That's not what he needs. He needs your love. So good.
It was so friggin' good. And I mean, on top of that, just like the whole, he was like, "Oh, I didn't know that he was there." It's like, come on, dog. You're scanning the whole planet for mutants, and you don't notice that one might be your son.
Okay, so I gotta dive in there too, because so I've been kind of just flipping through some older Legion books because I got some through a Whatnot auction. And so I've been reading some older, rereading and reading for the first time some older Legion stories. And I think what Xavier's claiming would have been true in original continuity. Like, he didn't have a lot of opportunity to know that Legion existed while he was not in a coma or whatever. We know from Powers of X that literally he and Moira chose their sexual partners based off who's going to give them Omega level babies. We were basically explicitly told, like, he not only knew Legion was going to exist, like, he orchestrated his existence. So he's straight up lying. He is a liar on top of being a shit father.
Yeah, a shit dad and a liar. It's just, I do like it though, because it's like, I wouldn't say subtle, but it's the small build to the true villainy that he can be.
Oh, absolutely. I can't wait for... I still think it's going to have to be like Apocalypse showing up and being like, how is Magneto the only one of you three who's not a dick? Like over the 3 founders, Magneto's the only one with no real blood on his hands. And like, he was the one that was originally a villain.
Right.
I don't know the character Blindfold that well, but man, this characterization of hers won me over.
Yeah,
her showing
absolutely.
up and
just reading him to filth.
Yeah, just tearing him apart. So what do we think Daedalus is?
So, I mean, if I remember correctly, Daedalus is the person who crafted the labyrinth which housed the Minotaur.
Right.
So, I mean...
some kind of trap for Legion?
That's my assumption, some sort of trap.
That's making Beast look not that bad. Like, literally, he's told, hey, you need to love your kid more, and his first thought is, trap the kid. That's insanity.
That's the first thing that name...
that is, no, you're
ignited in
right.
me. I was like, is he gonna put his son in a friggin' labyrinth kind of thing?
That's absolutely brutal. Because Icarus flew too close to the sun, melts the wax on the wings, and he falls down, right?
Yes. Daedalus, master craftsman.
Is the stuff with the altar and the prison and not the prison, the Legion flying too close to the sun?
Yeah, okay, so that could be too. You could look at it as, he built the wax wings for Icarus, right? Crafted those wax wings. Could be looking at it even as he crafted Legion's powers, and now the powers have caused him to fly too close to the sun, and that kind of thing. It could be that.
I mean, and like those two go hand in hand. I'm trying to not look completely ignorant on my mythology. So.
Right. It's which one would be more likely, and both seem pretty likely.
Yeah. Well, or it could be both. I mean, one, it's a catalyst for the other, essentially.
Very true.
All right. So you remember 4 or 5 issues ago, I had to send out a call for like, how did the Spirits of Vengeance thing work? I loved the Doctor Strange data page that explained exactly who the Spirit of Variance is. And I love how well it fits thematically with the rest of the book. Having this spirit that rebukes or refuses to play along with the idea of retribution or the spirit of vengeance is such a cool parallel with Kurt's entire mission for restorative justice in mutant kind. And like, I don't know, there's just, I don't know if I missed some of the seeds that were planted about what Vox Ignis really was, or if this was all just revealed to us, but I loved it.
It might have just been revealed. I did like also that it was pretty much just like, yeah, spirits of vengeance, not that unique.
I'm still convinced Mother Righteous is just straight up a baddie.
Yeah.
But Vox Ignis's benefactor. Like, it's weird that she's the puppet master for what is clearly going to be like a force for good. So I'm curious how that's going to play out. I'm curious when we're going to get the reveal of who Mother Righteous is. I thought it would be this issue because I don't think there's that many more. I think there's one more before Sinister hits.
It might be the next one.
Yeah. The cover doesn't match. Like, the cover is literally her, and then you get in the issue and she doesn't make an appearance. So there's definitely like a disconnect between the writing and the solicitations, where I think he's still catching up to an extent.
Yeah, I think so too.
But it bugs me because I'm so convinced that there's a Sinister logo under there, but the mask is drawn really low cut on the forehead, and that makes me doubt myself every time I see it.
But then I've also seen some drawings where the mask goes like completely up to the brow line kind of
Does
thing.
it sometimes? Okay.
So I think it's one of those varies depending on the panel kind of things.
Well, it could be the kind of thing where some of the artists weren't aware of that twist, if that twist is coming. Black Knight's powers, that was kind of a trip.
Yeah. That was wild. Interesting. Quite a crisis of faith.
Well, Orcus is literally out there testing for the X gene is horrifying. I thought it was really an interesting story beat that Black Knight, she makes it sound like she's convinced Warren is looking at it from a money aspect, that he sees the dollar signs, but it's really clear to us reading it that no, he's looking at it from like saving all of mutant kind. But whatever, lady.
Yeah.
Like, I thought that was an interesting narrative device that she's narrating, making it sound like, oh yeah, he's one savvy, greedy, rich guy, when really he's coming across much more for team unity if you really look at it.
No, absolutely.
I really found the Forget-Me-Not stuff funny.
Dude, the Forget-Me-Not stuff was so much fun. Like, very legitimately, I thought that was funny.
Well, and like we saw it issues ago, so it, like, the joke should be worn out. If, say, Benjamin Percy or even like a Duggan, though, was trying that same running gag, I feel like it would fall flat by now for sure. But Spurrier just times it each time it happens so that it's legitimately funny every time it hits.
Spurrier, the way Spurrier does it, it feels a lot more like a callback at the end of a comedian's set to like the first joke kind of thing, where instead of like a repeated gag, I don't know. I think it's just
it almost really built. It built in intensity or in like awkwardness in a way that made it all work. I also, though, like, why doesn't Lost just wear the thing? Like, everyone else apparently has this real easy get out of jail free where they wear it, whatever it was, a thing on their ear, and it lets them remember them, but she's not willing to, or they're not willing to. I don't remember how Lost.
I don't remember, but that's, I was trying to figure that out too, because I know, forgive me, I was trying to hand the device to them too.
Just this issue, even though it was heavy, especially with the Xavier stuff, like, it was a real lighthearted, like, funny issue. The actual visual of the gate, like, dodging was very slapstick. Like,
it definitely had a very good balance between those lighthearted, funny moments and like the heavy moments, because like that was all good. Like Dr. Nemesis was making me laugh. You know, he's all, do you want to try some hallucinogenics?
He might be the MVP, yeah. Nemesis is awesome.
I always like when I read him because I don't think have we gotten an animated voiced version of him in anything.
If we have, it's not in any of the stuff I've watched. So
Same. I always hear his voice as like Krieger from Archer.
yeah, I can see that.
That's what I hear in my head.
But it also juxtaposes the humor really well because like it was the Gates doing their thing, and then you see Cypher just despondent, and then Warlock in one of the saddest panels. I'm not gonna say the saddest because we have that Daredevil panel that you always bring up, but one of the saddest panels I can remember recently. Just what? I just want to go give him a hug.
Yeah,
I want to bring them together so they can give each other a hug.
Truly.
The Bavarian scene, hilarious again. No, see, you're not a monster. You're not a monster. Ah, it's Krampus. And the other kids like, it's not. We're not trespassing if we don't see the sign. But I just can't get over like the roller coaster of that issue, and we're gonna talk about two other issues that in a way kind of really complement it because they both try to be really funny. Deadpool, I think, lands the comedy, but it is a pure comedy book, so like it's not trying to do the same thing. And then we'll talk about where Dark Web falls flat. I am amazed at how well this balanced being legitimately funny and legitimately powerful at the same time.
Yeah, it was such a good balance. It didn't come off real hokey or anything.
And it moved that plot forward. Damn.
That was like my biggest like note on it was like, wow, this was a lot of progression, but also like it didn't feel packed. It was just like here's a few moments, and we're gonna progress everything by leaps and bounds with these few moments.
It was a clinic, really. Like I'm sure you could argue that they could have spread the story into some of the slower moving earlier issues, but I think this is a masterwork of slow burn storytelling, and I think it's almost a disservice to this book that Red and Immortal have been so good because the best you can offer it's the third best X-Men book, and I feel like that doesn't properly explain how good it actually is.
I feel like in any other like lineup of books, it would easily be like, oh, this is the best X book right now.
Yep. It's just mind blowing that we're A, in such a good era, and B, that this hits so hard. It's just.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like you said, the slow burn. Like, I think what made it so satisfying is this issue was the long Tetris block of the setup of Legion of X, and it just came in and completed everything. You know, like,
that is such a good metaphor. Oh my god. Yeah.
like that's what it felt like.
Like Spurrier was the master player, and then this was the finally. He just cleared the board. Oh my god, you nailed it. I had one more note, but I don't even want to do it. That is what we're gonna end. Let's do Deadpool 2. Written by Alyssa Wong, drawn by Martin Coccollo. Opens with two Carnage limbs bursting out of his chest. This gives him this nice symmetry with Doc Ock as they exchange blows. But to Harrower, Marvel Poison Ivy's glee, more arms pop out, including one that literally comes out of Wade's mouth. Harrower tries to subdue him, but Lady Deathstrike shows up, and we get some really funny flashbacks that reveal that it was her and Wade's mission together to go kill Ock, but he literally just dodged her calls and like sent her lead on text messages. Harrower and Doc Ock team up and get the advantage while Deadpool freaks out, cuts the main two Carnage arms off to hopefully slow the transformation, jumps out the window. He shows up at Valentine Wong's house for help. For those who didn't read the first issue, don't remember, they were the handler from the Atelier organization that was supposed to like manage Deadpool as he went on his assassination run. But also, Deadpool was super in love with him at first sight. And then Lady Deathstrike vows revenge, and the Atelier announced that neither Lady Deathstrike nor Deadpool got into the organization. They send a message to Valentine Wong of like, you are to have no more communication with that Deadpool freak. And they send back, how dare you? I haven't talked to him in weeks, but we literally see them patching him up. So seems like Valentine's a real love interest.
Mm-hmm.
The plot, I could completely take or leave. It's an okay story, but Alyssa gets Deadpool. Like this,
Yes.
or Alyssa makes Deadpool. Like, I'm not the world's biggest Deadpool fan, but I love this. This made me laugh consistently.
Absolutely. I'm so hit or miss on Deadpool. Sometimes I just really love his comics because they're exactly what makes me laugh when I need it to make me laugh. And sometimes they're just like, nah, they're too much or whatever, you know.
There's
But
writers that just have to hit the beat, so they do the chimichanga, ha 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 ha.
yeah, and I hate
joke.
that.
Yeah,
like,
and that's the stuff that I can't stand.
That's always the worst. And but I feel like Alyssa really gets what I like about Deadpool. And like you said, the plot, take it or leave it. I don't necessarily care about what's going on at all, but I'm having a lot of fun not caring about it.
Well, and I feel like if you're writing a Deadpool story where the plot is the most important part, like you've already lost. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with the fact that it's not the best. Like the villain works. Like Doc
Yeah.
Ock is a perfect foil for him. Harrower seems like a cool foil. The Lady Deathstrike stuff's got the most potential. Like them having a rivalry will be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And just the Deadpool monologues seemed right. Like we're gonna talk about Duggan next. I did not like Duggan's Deadpool. I know a lot of like younger readers now, like to them that's the foundational because he wrote it for so long. That was not a great Deadpool to me. I really didn't like before him was Daniel Way for a really long time. Really did not enjoy that Deadpool. Really, Joe Kelly is the only writer I would really go be like, man, I love this Deadpool. Up until now, like this might be like, we're only 2 issues in. It's too early to say. This has potential to be my favorite Deadpool just by default because I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely, I can back that up. Like this right now is my favorite Deadpool, and if it continues this way, it will be my favorite run.
Yeah, that's so good. Not Super X-Men related, but I want to talk some of the symbiotes.
I'm the guy. I get it.
So there are probably a dozen, maybe 15 like symbiotes we've already, like, not counting even the King of Black, like all the new ones we got there, but like with long histories on Earth of being like Marvel mainstays, right? Because you got Shriek, I can't even name half of them, but you know what I mean, like the
Yeah.
Toxin. There are all of these symbiotes they could tap into. I think it's really interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about. Instead, it seems like some of the symbiotes is going to be 4 different Carnages, 2 Venoms, the Mjolnir thing. Like, it seems really small scale, but also convoluted in like the sheer number of incarnations of the same 2 symbiotes we're getting.
Yeah. It's weird because they have so many things that they can do, especially with like the King in Black, as you mentioned, and even like early of this new Venom run and all that, just like different symbiote stuff that they could do. And
And
it seems like they're really just heading towards like our guys. These are our 2 guys, just 9 forms of them.
well, like the Carnage thing, because there's Red Goblin floating around.
Mm-hmm.
That's starting up next month, I think. And there's the one that we just met in Deadpool that's apparently he's given birth to.
Yeah.
There's 2 running around in the Carnage ongoing because there's Cletus and there's the actual Carnage symbiote itself. Like I said, Venom's got 2. It's got Dylan and Eddie, and that's if you don't count the like 5 different Eddies in the
Right,
time
because you have like,
shenanigans.
Meridius and Venom and Bedlam and all that nonsense.
And I'm assuming that'll wrap by the time we get to some of the symbiotes, but maybe not. So those guys might all be in on this. And then in the Thor book, was it 2 months ago? We've got the Mjolnir
Helnir.
thing.
Yeah.
That was it. Yeah. So I have no idea. I have no idea what they're going for.
I don't know. I would love what was her name? Silence.
Yes.
I would love to see more of that. Like that was so cool. Like to foil anti-venom with silent. Like yes, I'd love more of that.
Yeah. I'm wondering. We don't need to go on into it on pod, but I'm really wondering if whatever is going on with Donny Cates, if they're like shying away from his toys, or I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't want to get into it on pod. I could start theorizing Kate's too much. So, Deadpool, great.
Yes, Deadpool was awesome. Just to be positive on the Cates, because they are soliciting Vanish 5 for March, so
Yes.
at least that's moving forward.
Well, and he did mention he was like everything's fine. I am working on something behind the scenes with Marvel right now.
I'm hoping that everything's being told to us at face value. That's what I'm hoping.
Me too.
Dark Web, or do you have any more on Deadpool?
I don't have anything more on Deadpool, but do we really have to do Dark Web? No, I'm kidding. Let's go.
I was merciful and I just lumped all of it into, like, I just made one Dark Web banner. I'm not going to make you separately talk about Amazing Spider-Man for very long.
Oh, you mean so I don't have to talk about the asterisk and X-Men helped here?
We will get there. I want to talk. Written by Brian Michael Bendit, Gerry Duggan, and drawn by Rod Reis. It opens with a recap of Vita Ayala's New Mutants arc, where magic helped Madeline Pryor become the Goblin Queen once again. The story cuts to Manhattan, where Cyclops, Jean, and Magic are realizing Maddie set loose the forces of Limbo again. Jean calls for her X-Men to assemble, and Magic explains that the treehouse is safe since Maddie's agreement binds her from attacking. Forge has a legitimately pretty fun showdown with a sentient motorcycle where he shoots vines at it. Then Sync stays behind to guard the treehouse just to make sure everyone catches on. He also explains that she can't attack the treehouse. In case you didn't catch it, Keegan, she cannot attack the treehouse. Bobby asks Cyclops if they're going to just play defense, and Scott says nope. He, Jean, and Magic head to Limbo with a quick detour to grab Havoc. This leads to Firestorm and Iceman getting a team up with Spider-Man where they take on the Times Square Christmas tree. They end up burning it down and then having to freeze it solid to stop its rampage, which pisses off civilians for reasons. In Limbo, they are immediately assaulted by sleep demons and knocked out. Back in New York, Spider-Man makes some jokes about not teaming up with his amazing friends again, and the issue closes in Limbo with the Summers brothers in prison, Havoc in a sexy costume of Maddie's design, and her promising that she will get what she wants. This is not Duggan's best work.
No. I was telling you, I talked about it on TikTok, I think too. I genuinely had to go back and check who wrote it, because when I was like midway through, I was like, there is no way that Duggan wrote this.
I have I have a conspiracy theory that Brian Michael Bendis is still contractually not allowed to write for Marvel because the end dates for his DC tenure probably. So he secretly had Duggan put his name on this. But this reads like a Bendis book to me. You've got the unnecessary repetition of having to explain things 3 times, even though the reader definitely got it the first time. We probably got it when it was subtly implied in the original one shot and didn't need it to be explicitly told to us multiple times. It had everybody quipping as if they were Peter Parker, even though it had Peter Parker.
It was like a Joss Whedon movie.
Yeah, we could just have Peter Parker be Peter Parker. We don't need Bobby and Scott and even Firestar to be Peter Parker when we have the real Peter Parker here.
Yeah. and I don't know if it this might be controversial, but did Peter feel more annoying because he was quipping harder than everyone else was quipping?
Yeah, no, I didn't love Peter in this. I didn't love that apparently the joke was he didn't like teaming up with Firestar and Bobby. Like, I don't
Yeah,
understand where
why?
that animosity was coming from. I don't understand why civilians on the street were talking like Peter Parker. Like, seemed like everybody had a joke. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. If my mailbox came to life and started chasing me, I don't think my usual sarcasm would be at play.
No, like not at all.
I also really don't understand why are people mad specifically about the Christmas tree part. Like, I'm sorry, if a Christmas tree was attacking me, I wouldn't care how ugly it was after the superheroes stopped its rampage.
This is like the thing that bugs me about this is like it's a tree. It is already a dying tree. The
Yeah,
tree doesn't come back to life after it's been cut down.
they're not the
It's
ones that
on
killed you the
borrowed
first time.
the tree is on borrowed time. Why?
Yeah.
And let's save the city, burn down the tree. Hey, I bet there's a mutant that can make a wicked good tree.
We already saw Forge making vines. Why couldn't Forge also make a tree?
It's just so dumb. Like, okay, I have so many issues with this. But one of the issues I have with this that just like really sticks out to me is it was just it felt like a bad 2008 superhero movie. So it felt like Black Adam is when the kid goes, did that thing just make a boom boom in the tree? And then the mom is like, ew, gross, this city sucks. And like, it's just a little panel dedicated to just that.
Yeah.
What? Why?
No, that legit feels like something out of like an early Zack Snyder movie, honestly.
Yeah.
um let's talk some positives.
Sure.
I know you really enjoyed the white elephant data
I
page at
love the
the
white
end.
elephant data page.
Do you want to chat about it?
Okay, so here's the thing that I loved about the white elephant data page is I just think it really, of all things, it really nailed like the fun of this team and like what each team
Yeah.
would do and all that kind of stuff. And I was really excited to see like what each person brought to the table. Like that was fun for me, and I didn't do the research, but I feel like Scott cheated because it said the limit was $50, and I don't believe at all that a Band of Brothers 4K set signed by Tom Hanks is $50 or under.
I assume the implication was he bought the regular Band of Brothers Blu-ray and somehow like at Hellfire at the last Hellfire Gala or something got Tom Hanks to sign it, but
You know what? That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, he won. He won by bringing that and coming home with it. At least I. What do you think is the best? Do you have a what would be the best
I mean,
gift there?
I mean if we're talking I could actually get any of these things,
Yeah,
I would definitely want the Firestar, like, what was it, glass?
it was like a glass thing.
Yeah, it was an art piece that when light shines through it, it looks like a full blown nebula. She created it with her mutant gift at full power along the edges of a volcano. Like, I agree when it says like everyone agreed that was the coolest gift. Like, that would definitely be the thing I'd want because that's 100% unique. But I don't blame you. Tom Hanks' signature is amazing.
It's Tom Hanks. It's Band of Brothers. I think I have more in common with Scott Summers than I thought I did.
I will say, perhaps my favorite thing about this mini is that it's giving us more time with these characters because I was saying how I felt like we weren't getting enough actual time with this cast since we presumably were halfway through their tenure, but
Mhm.
also that we're not bogging down the main book with whatever this is going to be. Like that it got shunted to the side makes me a little more okay with it.
Yeah, I agree.
I did like, I don't know if, because this was before both our times, but Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, the random 80s Spider-Man cartoon that was really the first long-running Spider-Man cartoon of value, for whatever reason, they decided to pair him with Firestar and Iceman of all people. So I did like the fact that they acknowledged it. A couple of the poses were like set to look like famous, like the title card of the show and stuff. So I liked those aspects. But I
Yeah.
didn't like that they didn't like each other. That made no sense to me that there seemed to be like true animosity there.
Yeah, that didn't make much sense to me either.
And maybe it was meant to read more like friendly, like bantering, but it just came across like they legit didn't want to spend time together, and that kind of sucked.
Yeah, I didn't see it as very bantery.
Yeah, it did not feel bantery at all to me. But my biggest thing is still just the civilians and like the kid that was like, "Oh, he ate Santa." Like, oh, and it's Spider-Man. I saw a kid, but don't worry, they'll revive him in the treehouse. Like, none of that just felt
Like
in a different way that I say it about Percy, but it didn't fit with the characterizations anywhere else.
and yeah, that's everyone felt like 15 degrees off of what their characterization is. You know, like I could tell, like, okay, this is supposed to be Bobby, but someone messed something up. It just okay.
But it's weird that it's the guy that's writing their normal characterizations at the same time, that he's writing them in a side book slightly off. Is weird to me.
It felt very much like, oh, this is studio meddling for a TV show or something. You know what I mean? Like that kind of vibe where it's like, oh yeah, well, we can have this character, but you got to make him do this instead.
Yeah. Weird stuff. All right. We're going to stay here, deeply embedded in the dark web, but we got to talk Amazing Spider-Man. Not for long, but so I think literally the only X-Men stuff was. So one, this was basically a sales pitch for all of the other tie-ins. Like every other page was a see what happens over in this book. See what you remember this from this book. See what happens over in this book. So many of those.
So many asterisks of like, check out this, check out this. No, I don't want to.
Except we are going to read the ball. I hate to break it to you, but we are.
Have to.
There was a quick Maddie cameo, which was again just basically her showing up and like, don't worry, I'm the one in charge, but you'll have to read these other books to see me be in charge, and then leaving. But again, as my symbiote friend, and especially as my Venom guy, we talked last week about the way the setup characterized like, oh, it's feral Eddie. Now that we got to see feral Eddie, how do you feel about it?
I don't know. Here's the thing. I hate the Venom movies. I hate them with my whole heart. I think they're both just absolute trash.
Yeah.
And every word out of Eddie's mouth in this issue felt like it came off of that Venom. And I get it because like the Venom movies are, you know, more tied to the original Venom run and Venom's continuity.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where she has reset him to in this event. But because of that, like I don't like it because I didn't like that Venom.
So we talked about how this book seems to be it's the tree trunk, and it's trying to say like, oh, if you want to follow this branch, go here. If you want to follow this branch, go here. And it's just pointing you to the various series. And I read an interview with Zeb Wells where he talked about how they felt like this was a kind of crossover they haven't done in a while, in that really the only time the plot threads come together are in last week's first issue and in the finale. And then they wanted each like piece of the puzzle to be standalone enough that if you just wanted to follow the Venom thing, you could just follow Venom, or you could just follow the X-Men tie-in, and then you'd get a complete story. And I know we're only in week 2 of this crossover, but I feel like that has not done this at all, and instead just leaves everything feeling unsatisfying and disconnected and disjointed. Like nothing has felt like it went together at all. I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for the Christmas theming throughout, you could have told me these were from 3 different events, and I said like, yeah.
Anything more on the web?
No.
Let us exit the dark web for now. All right. I don't believe there's any must talk about X-Men news this week. Solicitations came out last week, so we had already seen them. Sins of Sinister looks really great. They're holding back. They're not revealing what these connecting covers look like yet. And
I know.
I'm pre-ordering them all, but I want to see them because I think the connecting variants are going to be sick. But
yeah, I think it'll look really cool.
Oh, I do want to do a little bit of a eulogy and a correction. So last week I talked about how New Mutants was in a guest arc, which is what they originally had told us it was. But we only have one more issue of New Mutants, and then the book is seemingly over. It's not solicited in February or March. There's a chance if we're getting that like April, May line wide, and it would probably be a soft one this year because we had the hard relaunch last year. But if we get kind of a refreshed series of new books, we also in February and March are getting all those minis. We're getting the Bishop mini and the Rogue and Gambit. So I think we kind of already have seen what those books are.
Yeah.
New Mutants is coming to an end. And I want to honor how much that book did for representation and getting some cool creative voices in there to give some cool underutilized characters a chance. Had a lot of cool stories. And I hope sometime in the next year or two, we get a new volume launched because it's a bummer for it not to get to go out with some ceremony.
No, I agree. Especially like because they just had like a ceremonial issue before the guest arc, and now we're doing this. Now, and I don't mean to say any of these things to discredit the artist or anything. It's more like I'm trying to discredit the direction that the company has overall taken. It makes it feel like more of a stopgap arc where it's just like, well, we didn't know what we were going to do, but we need to put a book out, so we're going to put this out and then let it go.
Well, and we know this story that New Mutants is telling right now has been building because it was originally like the first part of that story is all the way back in the Pride issue. So they could have had New Mutants end on that ceremonial, was it 20, 30, 40, how many years it was? I think it was 40th anniversary issue. And then had that be a mini series of a different name. Or they could have held off the celebration for 3 more issues. There's lots of ways they could have handled it that would have at least honored the legacy of what New Mutants has done over its entire legacy and what this volume has done. Because this volume had a lot of really great stuff between what Hickman did, what Viola did, and what even I'm liking this new arc. It just doesn't make sense to me to just let it fizzle. And I don't want to slander the Distinguished Competition, but it feels like a DC move to me.
Yes, and it really does. It feels like this big, grand, like disservice, really, to everyone involved.
Yeah. All right. R.I.P. to New Mutants. Hopefully not forever. Hopefully the resurrection protocols come through for the book.
God, I hope so.
Next week, we're not done with Duggan. Oh. X-Men Annual #1, which I really wish they'd stop slapping numbers on them when...
I hate when they slap #1s onto anything. Annuals, one-shots of any kind. It irritates me.
DC's been a lot better about putting years on the annuals, which makes way more sense when you've got stuff like this, where this is definitely not the first X-Men annual.
Mm-hmm.
Wolverine 28. Sabretooth and the Exiles #2, which feels like it's been more than a month. I'm very excited for that book. And then we do have 3 Dark Web books, but none of them are core X-Men titles. So we're just going to lump them all into Across the Universe. We're both going to read them. I'm not going to do full-ass recaps, though. We will just talk about them all briefly. We have Golden Goblin #2, Mary Jane, and Black Cat #1, which I'm legitimately excited for just because I love Jed Mackey's Black Cat run. And then Dark Web, Miss Marvel #1. So we will talk about all 3, not to the same degree as the actual X-Men crossover. Anything else you want to chat about?
I think we've made it.
All right, that's going to do it for us. I've already mentioned it up higher. We are now part of Crossover Comics. This means this episode, all future episodes, will be found on their channel on YouTube. I'll put a reminder up on our YouTube for at least for the first few weeks. Crossover also has the Crossovers Comics podcast, which is hosted by our buddies Jeremy and Michael. Great show. And then Color Break, which is hosted by Cody and Christian, which is also really fun. And that one, I'm in the guest on for their year-end show. We're both going to be giving our top 5, or we're all going to be giving our top 5 lists and giving out some other kind of more quirky comic book awards. I think it's going to be really fun. So I hope you check that one out. And just subscribe to their shows wherever you can. And if you're an audio listener, I believe they're on all the same services as us. If not, just do some quick search and you can find them. And finally, make sure you like us, review us on all the places, follow us everywhere. If nothing else, tell a friend to check us out for an episode. I think this was a fun one. This would be a good one to say, hey, check out this week's. It was a good episode. Mm-hmm. I am that Nerdy Papa Bear on all the social media except for Mastodon and Twitter, where I had to shorten it to just Nerdy Papa Bear. Keegan is Bulk Ranger. Until next time, if your Christmas tree attacks you, it's better you kill it. Don't worry about Christmas. Don't die.